Welcome to the Fantasy 40 Podcast with your host, John Dabari.
I mean, I can beat the shit out of Hollywood Brown if you'd like.
Matt Walker.
Put the DK Metcalf of running back.
And Andrew Berg.
I love Hakeem Butler, actually. He's starting to grow on me.
Remember to like, rate, subscribe on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Follow the guys on Twitter at the Fantasy 40. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Fantasy 40 Podcast. We are back. Myself, Andrew Burke, John Dabari, and we got Matt Walker back this week, John. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. But it looks like you are not in your normal place here, Walk. Where are you at today?
I'm about 10 minutes away from John, and we're not even going to get to hang out. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's sad. Well, I'm kind of glad
life happens.
I'm kind of glad you guys don't get to hang out because I got really jealous last time when I got off the call. Motherfuckers are having beers without me. But John, I know you're busy with the kids.
We did do a number on a 12-pack that time.
Oh yeah, show them the boss.
One of the funny things about living in Vegas is everyone comes out to Vegas and they're on vacation, but you obviously are just living your normal life, and people expect you to be like, "Hey, it's fucking Tuesday. Come on down and get all fucked up." You're like, "It's just a regular Tuesday for me, though."
Yeah. No, it's just Tuesday.
Yeah, it is fun. I mean,
listen, Vegas is super cool and all, but I can't wait to go home. So,
yes,
I'm on a red eye home tonight. I'm excited. I'll land early Friday morning, and this will all be a distant memory of 2019.
Which is coming close to an end, as are some of our fantasy seasons. Some of you guys are already out of the playoffs. Some of you guys are trying to make that rally back. We only got 4 weeks left. Most of us, unless you're one of those teams that like to play all the games. But let's go ahead and just preview. No need to recap last week. I'm sure we'll hit and touch some, hit and miss some things from last week, kind of touch on it on this week's schedule. But it is a Thursday when we're recording, so the Chargers and Raiders have a divisional battle. Can't really give you any intel, but I guess we could make some predictions and pick a winner here, Walk.
Yeah, I mean, should be a decent game. I'm actually overlooking the Raiders' new stadium at present. I'm in the Mandalay Bay, so like John said, he's seen the shit probably 100 times already, but it was pretty cool flying in and seeing the new Raider stadium that's going in 2020. They've been playing pretty solid, but it still was a game where they got lit up by Detroit last week, and I think the Chargers are going to clobber them. If I had to guess, it's only a 1.5-point line. It is in Oakland. It's one of the last games. I think I don't know how many they have left. They can only have a handful, 3 or 4 home games left at the Coliseum. So it's probably going to be an interesting evening, but I just think the Chargers are a better team. So I would go with the Chargers. And I think they're going to throw all over them. The Raiders, like I said, at 400 yards by Stafford, with Marvin Jones and Galladay having massive days. I can easily see Mike Williams and Keenan Allen having big days tonight.
I was going to say Hunter Henry. He seems to be the second favorite target, but he hasn't crept in the end zone since the first week he came back. But what I was going to say is Melvin Gordon, I didn't think it was possible to hate him anymore, but it's definitely possible. I mean, he's getting touchdowns, but he's not really productive, and all he's doing is hindering our boy Austin Eckler at this point, John, and I hope he goes somewhere else this year and they just, part ways with old Melvin.
Yeah, this is an easy one to pick. You just follow the Chargers flow chart. Should they win? Yes. So will they win? No. So give me Oakland.
All right. And then another.
It's sound logic, I got to be honest.
Should they lose? Yes. Will they win? Yes.
But they're not on the East Coast in a 1 o'clock game. So they have advantage. They're pretty much at home.
That's very true. I'm going to go with the Raiders, but let's go to the Giants and Jets. Giants coming off a loss at Dallas. Barkley was kind of shut down in the run game, but I don't see that being the point. Trust him. You can roll him out this week. Looked like Slayton, John, was, targeted heavily. Made some mistakes, though.
Sure did.
I don't know where else they go. Golden Tate. I mean, is it? I don't know. I don't want any pieces in either of these teams. What are you guys thinking?
Big Rhett Ellison game coming.
Uh-oh. You like you some Rhett. That's like the third time I've heard you mention that guy.
I feel he
Yeah,
sucks.
because
and
Evan Ingram's out with an ankle injury, so
yes,
opportunity. And there's no Sterling Shepard. He's looking like he might be going on season-ending IR
yes, sir.
because he had symptoms of a concussion, so they put him back in the protocol. It's his second this year. It's the same thing that happened to Brandon Cooks. I mean, I can't see in a lost season why Sterling Shepard would get on the field again. So I think it's going to be a huge Golden Tate game, and Slayton should get a couple opportunities at the deep ball. But it's amazing how irrelevant this game is. I saw Gase on Good Morning Football trying to talk about like how you don't really realize the dynamic of two teams in the same city playing against each other until you're in it. I'm like, well, it's because you're fucking irrelevant. Like no one imagines it because this game is not going to be watched by anyone outside of New York City.
I'm sure in the New York press right now, if they have an arena team, is probably covering them at this point. But yeah, not much to go into. We might as well just skip it.
Start your running back.
Yeah, start Bell, Barkley. I mean,
Bell's
Who
hurt,
knows what
isn't
Bell
he?
is? Like but that's like every week. He's got an MRI. Like seems like every other week this season. So no structural damage. He just didn't practice on Wednesday. I guess we'll see if he practices Thursday and Friday. But I would expect him out there.
yeah, same here. And I mean, obviously it's the Dallas O-line, but Zeke was gashing them left and right. So maybe this is one of these games Bell can really shine if he's healthy. Let's go to the Falcons Saints. Speaking of healthy, I do not have an update this moment on Kamara, but it looks like Murray, everyone, comes to me and says, man, that Kamara's backup, I picked him up and handcuffed him. I'm really liking what he's doing. He's doing better than Kamara. So you guys were kind of spot on all year with that, given opportunities Murray's would perform. I mean, he does look good, but, I think it's the product of Sean Payton's offense and how they use the running back in their attack offensively.
I mean, he's been people, myself included, were targeting him, hoping he would put up Melvin Ingram numbers. So for the most part, he's been a massive bust this year.
Mark.
He's just been a what did I call him? Melvin Ingram?
I would love if he put up Melvin Ingram numbers.
It would be great.
Fantastic.
Get some
Coming off
IDP
the
point.
end.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's been a very effective handcuff, but he wasn't giving you what you were hoping for the rest of the year. But, with bye weeks hitting hard these last few weeks, it's probably better for your team, actually. You had a viable fill-in.
Yep.
I mean, this will be interesting to see because I did hear that Kamara's back. They gave him all that downtime, then through the bye week and all that, he's going to be all systems go. I'm very interested to see what Latavius Murray's role is at this point because he proved that he can be a valuable addition to this offense, and he was largely irrelevant before Kamara's injury. So I hope he actually gets the Ingram role we were both envisioning before the season started because it could be very effective. Kamara could be effective on 12 touches. Kamara doesn't need 20 touches in a game.
That's pretty spot on. Falcon side of the ball, what do we got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the pass catchers because they're
Hooper.
going to be behind 14-0 in the first quarter.
Hooper, Jones, Ridley. Anybody else to add to that mix?
No.
I mean, you probably start Freeman, to be honest with you. I mean, that dude's been catching all PPR, especially. There's little else. Ito Smith, I don't know what he's doing. Brian Hill, who I like, isn't going to take Freeman off the field. So in a PPR, I think Freeman.
Ito's still hurt, I believe.
Yeah, I think Ito's hurt.
In the concussion protocol, too.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that they haven't been updating him to. I mean, I haven't seen anything come out in a couple weeks. So I don't know. Maybe it's all bye-bye Ito. Chiefs, Titans. Chiefs coming off of another win. Didn't they win? They finally won after their little losing streak. They're
Fighting Matt Morris.
Yes, that's what they are, fighting Matt Morris. Tyreek Hill had himself a day last week, which is good to see. He can still do his thing with Matt Moore. But the Titans is what I'm more concerned about. It just gets uglier and uglier. I mean, you don't think it will, and then, you just look at the box score and you're like, oh, awesome. I don't know where to go from here.
I wouldn't be shocked at all. If Matt Moore starts, would you guys be shocked if Kansas City won this like 20-17? I'm not Kansas City. Tennessee won it like 20-17. They're just a
No, not at all.
fucking ugly, grinded out team. And they win enough to give like their fans hope, but they don't do anything to give you any fantasy value. And then they would just sink the Chiefs. Like it just seems like what's the worst case scenario, and that's it. A low scoring, shitty game where, you know, none of the fantasy relevant, you know, Corey Davis does nothing again. Deion Lewis gets enough work just to make Derrick Henry irrelevant. Like they just play so ugly every week.
Cannot trust anything Titans. I mean, Tannehill still threw for 300 yards, rushed for a touchdown, had a somewhat decent fantasy day, but looked like shit doing it. And how at 300 yards passing can he rule almost every one of his pass catchers irrelevant still? I mean, Derrick Henry caught the touchdown. Corey Davis had a moderate game. It was a big yardage day, I guess, for A.J. Brown, but it was ugly. And he tanked Jonnu Smith, too, who was supposed to be everyone's streamer darling with Delaney Walker still out. So you get what you get when you believe in the Titans.
That you do. I just act like they're not playing anymore. I'm trying to trade Corey Davis in pretty much every league. But, you know, it's to the point. It's kind of to the point where he's gotten to Devonta Freeman status. People don't want to pay shit for him, but they want to use him on their team, you know, with the hindsight that he actually might produce one day for you. But that's where he's at. So, you know,
I'm
Dude,
buying him.
Devontae Parker is a more fantasy viable wide receiver
Oh.
than Corey Davis is. Let that sink in.
we're gonna have to play a game of that. A little guess who maybe next week. You know, that would have been a good one. You got Corey Davis, and if we just use an ADP, I'm pretty sure they are at least 30 spots away from each other. You would think.
Probably more than that.
More than that.
Maybe
30 wide receiver spots.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 wide receiver spots. So let's just chug on ahead. We got the Ravens just riding high after beating the Patriots, and not only beating them, we kind of smacked them around a little bit, made that defense come back to earth. Besides, everyone's going crazy of Lamar Jackson tipping off the Patriots because he's drying off his hands. Usually, you know, that's what people do when they're a little wet and they're about to throw the ball. So not reading too much into that. But are you still rolling out Joe Mixon if you have to? I have him as my RB2 everywhere, and I'm like, God, dude, this is getting ugly. This is ugly.
I mean, it hurts. I mean, who knows what Ryan Finley's going to bring to this Bengals offense, but it's likely not much. So it's not going to open things up for Mixon. I saw that A.J. Green practiced and then didn't feel good. And then back to day. A.J. Green's not playing this year. I mean, he's just going through the motions. He's like, I'll just keep showing up. But until you give me this new contract, like the foot's just gonna hurt again the next day. be a little sore with my floppy feet. You know, I'm just gonna be inactive again.
He practiced. He looked at Lindley or whatever. I can't even pronounce. Is that
Finley,
right? Finley. He
Fin-
looked at
Fin-
him at quarterback. Looked around the
Same-
roster, his coaching staff, and yeah, he's like, I'm fucking sick to my stomach.
I'm just get this
That's his
mental
problem.
picture of him
He's sick.
excited with a smile on his face, running out of the locker room, jogging to the practice field, and we're like, wait, what is that? Oh, damn.
Shit, this is 2019. I don't want anything to do with
I'm
this.
gonna go ahead and go back inside and hit the ice bath. You know, start your guys, Ravens. I guess Marquise Brown might be an option this week. Mark Andrews, this wasn't heavily targeted. I think he only had a couple catches. You still got to roll him out at the tight end spot for the Ravens. But you got Ingram. They're starting to give Justice Hill a little bit more burn. But, you know, nothing to, I guess, cause of concern for Ingram at all at this point. Either of you concerned?
No.
No, he had a bad fumble, but everyone fumbles against the Patriots. It's what they do. But he's looked really good in this offense. I think this is a Gus Edwards day, not a Justice Hill.
They're going
I
to
think
beat
kick
the shit out of him.
They're going to kick the dick off the Bengals, and Gus Edwards is going to see like 15 second-half carries. Gus Edwards could be an RB2 this week. And I'm actually scared that Lamar Jackson's not going to do shit because he's not going to have to. Like, is he going to get the 2 touchdowns he got against the Patriots rushing? Probably not. You know, they're just going to hand the ball off to these league rep Kyler Murray and Jameis Winston, and I'm trying to convince myself to sit Lamar Jackson for one of those 2, even though it's such a juicy matchup. Because I just don't think he's going to have to produce as a high end. And why would they run him
They could be up-
unnecessarily?
They could be up 35-0 at the half and just put who's their backup? RG3 still?
Yep.
Give RG3 some reps.
Yeah, I mean, they could score 2 defensive touchdowns easily in the first half against this kid. I mean, it's not out of the realm of reality. I'm concerned for a disappointing Lamar Jackson fantasy day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
He could also throw for 5 in the first half.
Listen, yeah, the Miami Dolphins game did happen. that's a reality. A shitty team, he lit them up. So anything's possible, and the Bengals are very receptive to big games. So,
you know what the line is in this one? Surprisingly,
I'm looking at it, so I won't play your game. Andrew, do you know what the line is
on this game? Like total or the
how much of a favorite Baltimore is?
Oh, 16.
They're not the biggest favorite on the slate.
Yeah, it's only 10, which is shocking.
Oh, I get maybe it's the division things. You got to read into those. Those are real things, you know. Doesn't matter the records, but when you get in a division game, usually
this is going to be a murder.
I mean, it's division and it's in Cincinnati, so they're getting all those things in their favor and are still 10-point dogs at home. So
yeah,
that's all you need to know.
That's about as good as it can get. Speaking of as good as you can get, let's go to the Bills and the Browns. Bills were off to a very hot start. OBJ is nowhere to be found. One of the highest or best wide receiver commodities out there for the last, 5 years when healthy, but now he seemed to, Jarvis Landry's the number 1 dude in Cleveland. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Not there is a true wide receiver 1 in Cleveland at all right now, but
they are getting Kareem Hunt back this week.
It should be interesting with that, but who would thought the Bills would be 6-2 and the Browns would be 2-6 in this matchup? I mean, Taylor teams going in different directions, but Mayfield did just come out and say he has to force feed Beckham the ball early because at present Beckham's having his lowest targets per game count of his NFL career. So while I thought that Mayfield was going to allow OBJ to flourish, he has actually stunted one of the best wide receivers in this game, and it does turn out that Eli Manning was better for Beckham's fantasy value thus far.
Who would have? Someone posted on Twitter, that little meme of it's Wolverine laying in bed holding the picture, and then the next shot of it is who's on the picture. It was that one with Beckham's face on it in the picture he's looking at. Touching was Eli's face.
Who would know he would miss him?
Who would have thought that?
It's sad.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just said it's sad. Just wasting a year. I mean, John was absolutely right on this going in that the Browns had so much hype that they're still the Browns at the end of the day. They are just falling short in every possible way. Their offense looks super predictable. Mayfield's taking a huge step back. He looks skittish. Their defense isn't any great shakes, even though they got some playmakers on it. It's bad in Cleveland. If they don't win this game, it's just abandon ship. They just should fire Kitchens right away, bring Greg Williams back in, see what they can do with him. Just change it up. Let's get saucy.
Williams has that gay stink all over him, so he's done. He can't be touched now either. He's gonna bring that gay poison with him.
I was just gonna say, who would have thought that Beckham's best highlight so far this year would have been that first pass he caught in OTAs when he's on the sideline. That was so far their best connection this year. So let's go to the Cardinals Buccaneers. Walker was talking about his predicament of starting Jameis or Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. That's a good predicament to be in, honestly, for fantasy quarterbacks. But these two are squaring off right now. I expect tons and tons of yards. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Ronald Jones again? Question mark?
No. Delete.
Listen, what's his name? Arians came out and gave Jones the ringing endorsement, so we know that Peyton Barber's getting 15 carries in this game.
Absolutely.
That's going to happen. The old bait and switch by BA. But no, Ronald Jones has been far superior. It's not hard to be better than Peyton Barber at football, but that doesn't make Ronald Jones a good running back. Can Jameis Winston stop absolutely force-feeding Mike Evans targets? It's really starting to frustrate me as a Chris Godwin owner.
It's
And
working.
I need the overcorrection. It's not working. They're losing football games. I mean, it might be putting points on the board. It's not working for me. Okay, can I say
Me
that?
either, buddy.
Not for me personally. I mean, Mike Evans just like Christ. He's got to be the target leader in the NFL. I mean, just looking, it's just an insane amount every week. It's like 18 targets. How many did you have last week?
24 or something.
Too many.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
It's like
too many.
You had a Zeke type game on the ground, but through the air. That's just force feeding him. Tight ends. Any tight ends in this game? I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I know Arizona doesn't use any, but
16 targets last week, by the way.
16. I wasn't too
12
far
catches
off.
for 180. I mean, Christ's sake. Him and Lockett at
And-
18 in that same game. That was just insane. That Seattle Buccaneers game. It's a great fantasy day for everyone.
I think Seattle's
Except
on a bye.
Except
This,
Chris Godwin.
Speaking of Seattle and Tampa Bay in a league this week, like you're talking, Walker, not sure if you're going to start Lamar Jackson. I actually, one QB league, I'm starting Winston over Russell Wilson this week.
You're overthinking it. You're overthinking it.
I don't know that he is. I mean, the Cardinals have been extremely generous, and the Buccaneers are going to have to throw it because the Cardinals are going to put points on them as well.
Seattle.
52-point line. It's at home.
At the Niners on a Monday.
Burke, you were talking about division games and how it matters.
I know, but
you could see that Monday night game being 17-13.
don't make me defend a Seattle player. I can't do this. But, dude, MVP.
Russell Wilson's unbelievable.
Yeah, right now he's having an MVP type year, dude.
Well, listen, Josh Gordon's probably going to be active, so he'll just ruin everything when he steps on the field for Seattle. And 49ers will go 9.
I did.
He's going to kill DK Metcalf too, buddy. That's what's going to hurt.
I hope not. I mean, it's kind of a
He's
bright.
shown it. DK Metcalf's been great.
Yeah, more than great. You know, looking good. Can't run that 3-cone, but goddamn, he can catch some touchdowns from Russell Wilson. Tell you what, swear to God. Anyways, so we're on the Cardinals and Bucks. We said start Winston, Evans, Godwin.
Literally everyone. OJ Howard should be back. You said tight ends. I mean,
Right.
It's a high total. He's back. He is good at football. I mean, it just hasn't worked thus far. He's gonna have a game sooner or later.
Is he?
It
He
should
may
be,
not.
It should be against the Cardinals. I mean, this is where it should happen. I mean, the Cardinals stink against the tight end. OJ Howard's got talent. He's coming back. I think he's going to end up putting up a tight end 1 line this week.
Crazy thing is, it's crazy that that's crazy.
I agree.
Like we're fucking week 10 and we're like, oh, maybe you could trot OJ Howard out against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Arians
there's
overrated pile of garbage.
There's
in the
zero
NFL.
conviction. Well, listen, just because he hates tight ends, he's been very good to the wide receivers at Jameis Winston. So it's kind of worked out.
I mean, as a
everyone
coach in
expected.
general.
I don't give a shit about how he's as a coach. I mean, granted, I am an honorary Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, apparently, but for fantasy purposes, he is predictable,
That he
in
is.
my opinion. And that's exactly what's happened this year. The running game sucks. They got great weapons. They throw the ball a ton.
Speaking of predictable, we have the Bears with Trubisky facing off against the Lions. And we could pretty much tell you how this game's going to go. Lions have to air it out because they have no running game whatsoever with Kerryon going down. And Stafford's looking good slinging the ball around, but, you know, he's going to be running with his life and running for his life, against the Bears defense. And then the Bears, I think this is going to be Tariq Cohen game. He hasn't done crap for a while. I think this is going to be a big, big game for him.
Cohen only has good games if they're trailing. So if you think Detroit is going to win this, then you
I
are
do.
correct. Cohen has done
Let's say-
absolutely nothing in the games the Bears were winning or have been hanging in.
John, the Bears are 3-5. That would theoretically mean that Cohen's had 5 good games this year, and that's not fucking true. So
If they got no, even
Sipped
the
it
games
up.
where they've been slightly competitive, they only use him. Think of like Chris Thompson-esque in Washington. He's only getting those huge target and reception games when they're trailing by a ton. So the games where the Bears still think they're in it, and they're still not running it. What was it, a couple weeks ago? Didn't they only fucking run the ball? I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, they ran the ball like 7 times or something. They're horrendous.
That changed
They're
last week.
horrific.
But I mean, the sad thing is that the Bears are being gashed on the run, and the Lions, like Burke said, have 0 running game. So it just doesn't even line up for that, like, kind of easy, oh, yeah, you're going to start that guy week. The Bears somehow are 2.5-point favorites with a low total, and I don't know that they deserve it. I'm not a Lions fan, but the Bears are falling apart at the seams. Mitch Trubisky is, he's turning off TVs in House Hall because everyone's talking shit on the Bears, and he just doesn't want to hear it anymore. I'm like, dude, you're focused on the wrong things. Get in that playbook and start throwing quality NFL passes.
I hope he invested his money well. That's all I can say.
Good old one contract Mitch.
He should have hopefully got his 401k going before it was too late. Have the Bears match him 3% or whatever they got to do there. But I think he's on the way out. Like I said, man, there's not much in this game besides you got Golladay, Marvin Jones, but it's like, do you even trust them against the Bears defense? They get a little pressure on Stafford. He's going to be hucking it up. I would say yes, just because of if they do get in the red zone, one of those guys are going to catch a couple touchdowns. So, other than that, Montgomery.
Yeah, I don't know that both of them are sustainable in this game. So I would fade Marvin Jones. I mean, he's due for a regression game. Galladay's clearly still the alpha there, and you're going to start him. But I could easily see Marvin Jones disappoint in this one.
Yeah, we definitely will fade Marvin Jones over Golladay. I think all three of us agree there. Somewhere we don't agree at is the Dolphins got to win. They are no longer going to be defeated this year. It was a battle of who did they beat? Was it the Redskins?
They beat Adam Gase. That's who they beat.
Oh, the Jets. That's right.
just Adam Gase. That was the only person they beat.
Adam Gase against those Dolphins, and the Dolphins came out on top. Who would have thought it? But this week they have a formidable opponent in the Indianapolis Colts. Why don't you hit it off, John? Who are you starting and sitting in this game? I mean, I don't want to talk about this one either. This is disgusting.
I'm barely focusing because when you brought it up, I pulled up Trubisky's contract, and he's going to make $29 million. So wrap your brain around that. In this game, give me – well, Brissett is out, so I guess –
he's not even $29 million man's not even playing in this game.
Correct. I guess Marlon Mack. The Colts defense, I picked them up and redrafted in a few spots. Miami should fall to pieces here. The Colts, with a few exceptions, I mean, Frank Reich's a good coach. So even with their backups in there, I think they're going to do enough to beat a shitty Miami team, especially at home. So Zach Pascal's in play. Marlon Mack, with the injuries to their pass catchers, Nyheim Hines should probably get a little more involved. And then Hoyer seems like a guy who's going to, Jack Doyle caught a touchdown from him last week, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe your man Ebron will get more involved. Maybe some Mo Alley Cox if you're in a super deep league and desperate tight end premium. But Miami, we mentioned him earlier. Devontae Parker is the only show in town. In case you missed it, Preston Williams is on injured reserve, so his rookie year is done. So that's a wrap for him. Our man Mark Walton.
Oh, geez.
Shitbag's going to shitbag. He's suspended for 4 games, so that's going to take you into the fantasy playoffs. So it's Kalen Ballage time. They have no choice. So that guy's going to be just horrendous. I don't know who Patrick Laird is, but that's who is back.
Start him.
Yeah, he's their back. He's the backup.
I don't care what the question is. The answer is never Kalen Ballage.
Start him. Roll him out.
And I wouldn't be shocked to see Myles Gaskin start getting some more.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And then at wide receiver, Jakeem Grant was the only guy that this new regime signed to a contract when they came in. He got a 3-year deal, I think, an extension. So Jakeem Grant might be the guy who sees a little more work with Preston Williams out. But he's a super little speedy guy, so it's going to be boom or bust, I think, for him.
Gotcha.
Well, this is an undue amount of time on the Dolphins-Colts game. John just went in depth on a game.
Hey,
where
he
half of
did
those
it.
guys
I don't
will
have
not be
to.
starting. Can you believe the Colts are a 10-point favorite when they're going to be on what is their third quarterback? They're missing their top pass catcher. Their rookie wide receiver is out of the game, and they're still a 10-point favorite against the Dolphins. I mean, it's just,
It's not enough.
it probably isn't. But, yeah, I'm there with you on most of it. I'd like to see Ganson get some burn. I heard Patrick Laird's name as well, and I'll freely admit I do not know who that man is, but he's better than Kalen Ballage, in my opinion, for not knowing shit about him. Doesn't take much. Shots fired, Kalen. But, yeah, the Colts should run this ball 40 times. I mean, this should be a huge Marlon Mack game at home. Should be easy to beat the Dolphins. I'm firing Mack up every place I can get. And, yeah, one of those tight ends is probably going to catch a touchdown. You said it was Doyle last week. It could easily be Ebron again this week. And Pascal's their top pass catcher. So it's going to be pretty narrow. I'm not going to go too deep on the Colts. I don't think they'll need Nyheim Hines at all in this game. He seems only be relevant, like you were talking about with Tariq Cohen earlier, when they're behind. You want Nyheim Hines in negative game scripts. He might not even see the field in this one. He might get Jordan Wilkins 10 or 15 carries in this game when it's all said and done. And Dolphins outside of Devontae Parker, I'm not trusting anyone. I don't want any piece of that backfield. I mean, who knows what Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to do. I like Albert Wilson over Jakeem Grant that you mentioned, but Albert Wilson hasn't been getting anything. I think he's gotten like 2 targets the last 2 weeks, so I don't know what's going on there. But they'll just go back to being the Dolphins. They're going to get throttled by the Colts.
All right. So we definitely spent too much time. I'm not even going to say anything. All right, Packers, Panthers. Packers, Panthers. Cam Newton finally placed on IR for good. Kind of gave a Twitter farewell to the Panthers in a roundabout way, I guess you could say. Expect McCaffrey to get the ball 47 times.
48.
Have a couple couple hundred yards from scrimmage, maybe a couple touchdowns. Packers, I don't know what to think of the Packers at this point. I mean, they got behind. No Aaron Jones last week. No, nothing really. It was just an ugly, ugly game.
Yeah, I don't know what the Chargers did to them. I mean, it just was totally didn't see that coming. I thought it was just going to be a high-scoring game, back and forth, and the Packers just didn't even get off the bus. So Aaron Jones couldn't get going. Of course, Jamal Williams gets junk time touchdown and just keeps hanging around in the background, pissing me off just about every week for the Packers. But Christian McCaffrey has 150 scrimmage yards in 6 of their 9 games, or 6 of their 8 games so far this year. The dude is just unbelievable. He's leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Total touchdowns too. It's sick. Your offense. He gets 30 touches a game, and he still just is consistently productive. Like, you can't scheme to stop this kid. It's super impressive. I think it's a get-right game for the Packers back at home. Aaron Rodgers should be able to throw on the Panthers a little bit, and -5 might be a bit much because I think. Who? I mean, it's a week later with Devontae Adams. I think they were trying to shoehorn him back in after being out for so long, and it threw their offense off totally. They were totally relying on throwing to the running backs before, and that went away largely until junk time when he was peppering Jamal Williams down the field for that touchdown. But I got to think Devontae Adams is going to have a game. I mean, the Panthers got some decent corners, but no world beaters. So should be a bounce back game for Devontae Adams. And hopefully they get Aaron Jones back involved in the passing game, because that seemed pretty successful. And then it just evaporated against the Chargers. So
yeah, not much.
It's a good question, John. It's a good question.
Do it, and we'll see you on Sunday. We're kind of running a little short on time, so we'll just skip ahead to the Rams Steelers, John. I don't know. I haven't done any research. We saw Jalen Samuels last week. I guess that was positive.
Yeah, Connor's practicing again, so they might be kind of in a timeshare this week if he does get back on the field. Rams are missing Brandon Cooks, so Josh Reynolds should probably be more involved if you're looking for a sleepery type of guy off the radar for most people. I don't know. The Rams haven't looked good, if I'm not mistaken. They're coming off the bye. Maybe they got some things right. Pittsburgh's been so-so. Mason Rudolph, and I don't know about this defense. So I kind of like the Rams in this one, but it's with very little confidence. I'm not too excited about this game.
No, you would think.
I do not trust Jared Goff.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Unless Walker, you got
No,
any
before we
final
move on, I do, and it's only because I'm looking on the sheets and they have the top passer, rusher, and receiver. And look at these stat lines for the year, and I wasn't aware of this. Todd Gurley, 92 rushes, 355 yards, and 6 touchdowns. James Conner, 97 rushes, 380 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Everyone's talking about how like Gurley's fallen off the map, and the Conner supporters just refuse to go away. In a down season where Gurley's touches have been regressed, he's still a better running back behind a porous offensive line than James Conner's been this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
You can give me all the quarterback change shit you want. I mean, it's numbers are numbers. It's telling.
Excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one, right?
Yeah.
I love that saying, but
some people have too.
I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to say, after the Rams coming off a bye, I think it's time that they, go ahead and take the donut off of Todd Gurley's tires and go ahead and let him run loose. So expect a little more burn from him coming up towards the end of the year. I mean, the grind's on. They got to catch the old Seahawks and the 49ers at this point. They're not even a given in playoffs, are they?
No. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're looking up at 2 teams right now. You're third place in the West, so
that doesn't get you in the wild card. So we'll see. Vikings, Cowboys are on Sunday night. Dalvin Cook, I believe, is still leading the lead in rushing yards. Dallas just shut down Saquon Barkley, but I think the Vikings have quite a bit better offensive line than the Giants do at this point. So what do you think happens here, Walk?
Well, I get in primetime games that I'm forced to watch them play football. Let's move on.
You love it. You love it.
But this should be an interesting game. Kirk Cousins can't beat Dak Prescott and he can't beat Mike Zimmer. It's 2 things that just have not occurred in his NFL career. So should be interesting. I don't think Thielen's going to play in this game. Highly unlikely. Doesn't make sense. He shouldn't even have played last week, but I think they thought they needed that win against the Chiefs. So
he's out.
Yeah, it sets up well for Dallas. They did contain Barkley outside of that 165-yard catch and run, and Dalvin's got a lot of that in this game, so he's going. But I wouldn't expect a tremendous effort on the ground from him. But you're still firing him up as a top 3 running back when it's all said and done. I'm interested to see how it goes. I mean, Zeke got a fair amount of carries, didn't get in the end zone last week, but was just productive, just ripping it off 6 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards, just consistently getting downhill. But it was against the Giants. Let's see what he can do against a stouter run defense. In the Vikings, I think it's going to be a good NFL game when it's all said and done, but it might disappoint a little bit from a fantasy perspective.
That's exactly right. I think the same thing. They're going to go toe-to-toe, square off, but you got Stephon Diggs right now as a pass catcher, and that's about it. And
I like the number 2s in this game. I like Olabisi Johnson for Minnesota, and I like Gallup for Dallas.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
Yeah, I mean, even Cooper got a little dinged up. He still played the whole game and caught that touchdown late, but he did bang his knee, and he wasn't as involved when it was all said and done. I mean, I know they hyper-targeted Witten because that's what you do against the Giants, but it looks like Gallup's back to that kind of explosive second receiver. So I'm there with you. I think he's easily a wide receiver 3 or flex this week.
Yeah, I think he had to kind of work himself back in after having his knee scoped the last few weeks, and then seeing that play made on the sideline. I think he, like you said, I think he's back at full health, and he's looking good. The only concern I have with Cooper moving forward is he seems to be made of porcelain. I won't say glass. I'll make him a little tougher. Is porcelain tougher than glass, or no?
Depends on the glass, I think.
Debatable.
Pretty sure if you hit either of them with a hammer, they break. So.
Exactly. A little worrisome there. Obviously, I'm going to take my Cowboys. I'm sure you two are going Vikings, but let's move on.
No, I mean, Cowboys are at home, right?
Yeah.
In Dallas. Yeah, I mean, they should be favored. They should win the game.
I think it's going to be.
I don't want them to, but they should.
It's going to be coming down to the old Dan Bailey at the end of the game against his old former team, kicking the ball. We'll see. I've seen weirder shit happen. So
this is true.
Let's go to Seahawks 49ers. This is pretty much battle of the, top dog in the division. even though the 49ers are undefeated. I would think if Seattle knocks them off here, they will start going on a little losing streak. John, what do you think?
The Niners, if you look at their schedule, first half, second half, I don't have it in front of me, but I could pull it up in a second here. I mean, they had it set up great for them to start strong, but the second half of the year, man, they've got to. We'll start here: Seattle at home, Arizona at home, then Green Bay at home. They got these 3 home games, which is better for them. But Seattle and Green Bay are not going to be easy. Arizona's a conference game. Then at Baltimore, at New Orleans versus the Falcons, so they could probably beat them if the Falcons keep being shitty. Then the Rams, and then at Seattle again. They have a horrendous second half of the schedule. I mean, you can only play the teams that are on your schedule, but they had a pretty, I don't want to say cakewalk, but they had it good to start the year. So the second half will really tell you what the Niners are. And I wouldn't be, not they're going to go 0-8, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them finish with only 10 wins, 2 more wins from here on out. It wouldn't be crazy.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Fantasy-wise, in this game, you were talking about sitting Russell Wilson for Kyler Murray, I believe it was, but I don't know. I'm still rolling out Russell. Jameis, my fault. They're the same person. Kyler Murray, Jameis Winston. But fantasy-wise, what do you got on the Seattle side of the ball, John? And then I'll give Walk the 49ers.
I mean, they've been peppering Lockett with targets. Obviously, Metcalf's the big play guy. If Josh Gordon is in this one, it'll be interesting to see what he can do, but I don't think he's going to get the volume or the snap count to really be trustworthy. I mean, he could obviously break one and get a touchdown, and then that is what it is. And they're force-feeding Chris Carson. The Niner defense has been pretty stout all year, so I'm not expecting big numbers, but the volume should be there. But I'm expecting this to be a pretty low-scoring, non-fantasy important game.
Walk, what do you got on the other side of the ball?
Well, Emmanuel Sanders has been pretty amazing. Since that trade, it was he eased in week 1 and a monster last week. You're starting to see Kittle get into the end zone and be the tight end 1 that some people expected him to be, and I think that's going to persist. I'm not trusting a single pass catcher outside of those 2. I'm not going to trust Garoppolo in what should be a good matchup for him throwing the ball. And with the running backs, you got vintage Tevin Coleman. He had a massive week 2 weeks ago and totally shit the bed when everyone was like, oh, yeah, I got Tevin Coleman on my bench. I'm going to put him in my roster this week. You see what he did the week before? That Tevin Coleman his way to large per carry and broke everyone's hearts. I'm not trusting those running backs, even though Seattle isn't the defense that they used to be. I would start Breda over Coleman, but I wouldn't be in a rush to start either of them, even off this kind of big bye week. It'd be pretty much Emmanuel Sanders and Kittle and no one else. I think there'll be a little bit more points than John does, so I'm still firing up all the pass catchers from Seattle. But I could see like a 20-17, 24-17
That's what I
finish in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I don't
be
know.
Enough points.
I'm just not buying into Josh Gordon doing anything at this point. How many times are we gonna let him in and out of our lives? It's almost like one of those girlfriends that just let the dudes treat him like shit and leave him, and they come back. You're like, it's okay, man. I know it'll be different this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots said we would rather give up a second-round pick and get Mohamed Sanu than keep you on our team. They already had him. They didn't have to give up anything. They had Josh Gordon. They said, no, you can leave. And we're going to give a second-round pick, which is tremendously valuable for a guy that's going to do well in their system. Sanu's going to do great for the Patriots.
Which he is.
We've already seen it.
Oh, yeah,
he's perfect. I mean, he just looks like a fucking Patriot. Like
he looks different, too, in the uniform, catching the ball. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like he's 10 years younger.
He even looks bigger.
He does.
Looks bigger and faster. Yeah, it's crazy what they're doing over there in Foxborough. Fountain of Youth. But I agree with you. I mean, how many teams passed on Gordon, through waivers? I mean, Seattle was like probably a back 5, back 8 team as far as waiver priorities. No one wanted Gordon. The Eagles passed on him. Fuck, we need a deep ball pass catcher. And supposedly they weren't even considering putting a claim in on him. So I don't know what's going on with Gordon. On the field, he just didn't even look like he gave a shit when he was just like running routes and going through the motions. I mean, maybe he just doesn't love football anymore. You know, it's just something he can do. It makes him a couple $1 million, but you know, the Patriots aren't going to deal with that. It'd be interesting to see DK Metcalf. That's a scary thing. Even if Gordon isn't who Gordon used to be, you know, even if he's just somewhat of a decoy, you got 3 guys that with Russell Wilson that can stretch the field, could take it 50 yards in a second. So it helps. If nothing else, it just helps Russell Wilson. I mean,
it does.
A better third pass catcher than what he was dealing with David Moore and Jerron Brown.
Man, just think. They went from no weapons to start the year. I think I was hating pretty hard on the team, saying, you know, they ain't got nobody to throw the ball to, these rookies, Gary Jennings, Moore. You know, I didn't think we were going to do anything besides DK. I was pretty high on him this offseason, but I did not expect what he's doing right now. And now they have at least if you look at him, a formidable wide receiver core. So it's kind of dangerous going into the playoffs. This team will be.
No, agreed. And we didn't even mention Jacob Hollister, who had a 2-touchdown game, caught the overtime touchdown last week. Wilson likes his tight ends, you know, and you know, Will Dissly was a thing, and that dude was like a blocking tight end coming out. And you know, Hollister's the guy now, and he's super athletic. I mean, he was unfinished. He was a Patriot too, and they traded him over to the Seahawks before the season. So I picked him up in a couple tight end premium leagues, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's a part of this offense going forward, plays a significant role. He's going to get a decent amount of snaps. You know, what is Ed Dixon coming back? The only one standing in his way.
Yeah, good old Ed.
I'd be buying into him, but you know, it's actually a decent Monday night game. I'm excited to say it. It's going to be very telling as far as who the 49ers are.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start of the show, this is about it. You know, if you're under 500, there's probably a very slim chance you're getting into your fantasy playoffs. But if it's only one game, don't give up hope. There's still a chance, right? Right?
Whatever my record is, I'm still trying to chop people's legs out from under them. You know, don't be that person. You know, keep trying to beat people. At the end of the day, if for nothing else, they're just glory wins. Fuck someone else's season up.
Especially if you're in Dynasty, I mean, that could affect people's picks and where they're picking at in this highly sought-after 2020 class. So
I was going to say, Dynasty is a totally different animal unto itself. You need to be strategic in your approach in Dynasty.
Right.
Be competitive, but not too competitive if you can, because you're incentivized, you know, to race to that bottom. So you got to know who you are, you know.
Yep.
So don't tell anyone to tank, but, you know, don't go out of your way to win games.
Exactly. Just roll out a bunch of Devontae Parkers and things of that nature. But
listen, Devontae Parker's gonna have a day.
That's true.
He's all they got left.
Who would have thought? But that's probably gonna do it for us today. Unless you got anything burning, Walker. You got anything?
No, I mean it's we touched on just about every game of relevance. There's, you know, we didn't touch on Cam going on IR, Nick Foles being named the starter again, Mahomes being full practice, kind of quarterbacky things. They don't get a lot of pub, but that was a few days ago, so it's not front of mind. But I don't see why you would play Mahomes, you know, this soon out. I mean, he was trying. Yeah, I mean, coming out of I get it. Too much money committed to Foles, and you said this on past podcasts. It's fun watching Minshew play. But what's their record? I don't even have it in front of me. I mean, he's I don't believe he even has a winning record as a quarterback. So there's stability with Foles. They paid Foles a ton of money. I get why they went back to him. You know, if Minshew was Kyle Allen, when he was 5-1 as a starter, you'd have an argument. But Minshew's probably got a 500 record, if that. He's a good story, but I would have went back to Foles.
Minshew has a cult following, though.
He does. You know,
the
dude's he's a great watch. I mean, he makes them more exciting than Foles will. Goes without saying, but you know, it hasn't translated to wins, and that's what these NFL teams have to care about. I know why Marone went back to Foles. He, in his interview, he's like, "We spent way too much time when we brought him in, you know, building this offense for Nick Foles. Like, this isn't meant for Gardner Minshew, and we're paying the dude $20 million a year. So damn right, he's our starting quarterback." At least through the season.
Damn right.
No.
So that's where we'll shut it down for week This is 10, I believe. So it's just flying on by. I mean, it's been a blur. Been busy myself, coaching up these boys and getting that dub. Shout out to my squad, Super Bowl champions. I had to give them a shout out. Not that they're allowed to listen to the show. It's
big old trophy in the background.
Oh yeah, parental advisory. But yeah, we got the job done this last weekend, number one. So with that, we'll go ahead and shut it down. Walk. It's good to have you back, John. Already hit the road. Got to go hit the beaten path and drop off the kids at the school. So we're going to shut it down here. We'd like to thank our partners over at the Full-Time Fantasy Network. Remember to like, rate, subscribe on all platforms where podcasts can be found. We're everywhere. Everywhere you want to be, we're there. And follow us on Twitter at the Fantasy40, on Instagram at the Fantasy40. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead and search the Fantasy40. I haven't posted on there. I'll try to get on there sometime this week and maybe drop a couple questions, see if we can get some interactions with you. So that's about it for the day. Walk, enjoy Vegas. I got to get to work. For myself, Andrew Burke, John DeBari, and Matt Walker. We're the Fantasy40, and we're signing off.